So we are live. Welcome everybody. I think you're probably just filing in. Technically, we're not starting for about another 5 minutes or so. But I did want to say hi. I am going to, what am I going to do? I'm going to kind of still work on my notes. Actually, that's not true. Really, here's what's happening. I'm going to teach you guys how to travel for free. It is something I've been doing for a very, very long time. This thing, talking to this green dot, interacting with you guys is not what I do. I consider myself to be a writer. I'm a traveler. I study philosophy and religion and do a whole bunch of other kind of interesting things. As many of you probably know, I am married to Morgana Ray, who is in Bali. Either that or she's in a plane on her way over here. Can everybody hear me? I don't know, do we have anybody who's in the room yet? Yeah, I see some people coming in the room already. So if you're here, do sort of like, I think it's in this lower right-hand corner. If you just say hello, let me know where you're from so I can kind of properly greet you. But what I was going to say is, I'm not a webinar guy. Like, there are people, I've seen webinars like over the last year or so. I've been watching people who I may have no sound. Oh, that's terrible. Okay. Under the worst case scenario, Mary, try to log out and log back in. And okay, good. Jenna's here. Log out and log in for no sound. You should have sound. I know that we're recording it. Good. I'm glad, Jenna. Thank you. Where was I? So what I have here is that I'm not a pro at this. Oh, great. Bonnie from Southern California, my home. I love that. Thank you. Alcira, good to see you. Let's see, Janet, sound is on here. Okay, so we've got some people. So we know that the sound is coming through. This frequently happens. What I suggest is logging out, logging back in. You may want to just turn up the volume on your computer. Brant from Canada, good to hear you. And know that you're here. Frank, hello. So anyway, what I was going to say is, like I said, we've got a few minutes before I am starting. I am not a pro at this. So I have, like, quite literally, I have papers in front of me that I'm going to be sharing with you. And I have notes and I have show and tell stuff. And we're going to be talking about travel. And that's what I'm going to teach you from. So I'm hoping that you will forgive my imperfections as a presenter. But I know this stuff. I started my my website, In the Know Traveler, in 2004. That was when, during the infancy of the internet, especially in terms of sort of like travel blogging. So I started it a long, long time ago. There's only a few guys that have been around longer than I have. Dave's Travel Corner comes to mind, who's been doing it for almost like 17 or 18 years, and Go Nomad, Max over there, and a few other people. Hi, Cassandra. Shauna from South Africa. By the way, one of the greatest trips, one of the most remarkable places I've ever been is in South Africa. It was absolutely glorious. So welcome. And so what I'm going to do is, well, I'm going to do a lot of things. I'm going to tell you some stories. Hi, Tina. Thank you for being here. I'm going to tell you some stories. We've still got about a minute and 15 seconds. So I don't want to jump into, the show. I want as many people to have the opportunity to come here as possible. Let's see. I've got requests already. I don't know if I can read them from Janet and Rush. I'm not sure what those are. Sadly, I'm not. Still no sound, Alcira. I am so sorry. I know that other people are getting sound, so I don't think it's something on our end. I'm going to try to, I suggest rebooting for no sound at Alcira. I'm sorry about that. Greetings from Slovenia. I totally love that, Teja. Welcome. In case some of you don't know, my wife and I are in the process of getting married 100 times in 100 countries. And my wife's favorite wedding was in Slovenia. We actually got married in Bled. There's a spectacular lake, which is overlooked by this extraordinary middle-aged castle. And part of that, and perhaps Tehab will agree, is that I had to carry my wife up 100 steps, like the 100 steps of terror, traumaticness. Carried my wife up 100 stairs so we could ring the bell of wishes in the cathedral that is in the middle of the lake at Lake Bled. Anyway, it's absolutely stunning, absolutely wonderful. I love Slovenia. Philadelphia. I love that. I had friends who were living in Rittenhouse Square. Anyway, totally fun stuff. Welcome, Michael from Northern California. And I think we are now after 12 o'clock. So I have so much stuff to talk about that I'm going to do my best to jump into it. And so here's my promise to you. I am here to teach you how to travel for free. I'm going to show you exactly how I travel the world. I'm going to teach you about receiving the special perks that travel writers and travel agents and travel pros, what they get. You will know the principles of how to get, even if you don't get exactly free travel, how you're going to get discounts. I mean, I guarantee you, the stuff that I teach you to do, you will like, it will be a huge success. I promise you, I've been doing it, and it was a surprise to me. And this is going to help you if you are just somebody who wants to travel more, if you are a business person, if you are in the coaching business, if you want to do destination retreats. Like I said, even if it's just a hobby, this is great, because I'll tell you what, travel is absolutely expensive. Nede from Denmark, welcome. Sedona, Arizona. My wife and I almost got married there. But more on these stories later. So if you are afraid to travel, if you are concerned about how to put together an international trip, if you are concerned about the amount of money that it costs to take a trip, we're gonna save you all of that stuff. And I would argue that traveling, and I've made it my life, so I would argue it's one of the best things you can do for yourself and the world, period. I'm so sorry, Alcera. Hopefully you can watch the replay, which is, which should be happening barring any technical issues. Hello, Isabel from France. Welcome. So here's another thing I want you to understand, is that while what I'm teaching you is easy, it took me 17 years to kind of put this thing together. I've been a freelancer and an editor for a long time. So if you stay until the end, you're gonna know what I know. Not only that, I'm going to give you free airline tickets to pretty much any place in the world. And so we're gonna be talking about travel a lot. But I also want you to know, if you are not within the travel industry, you don't want to be in the travel industry, that's totally fine. What I'm gonna be offering you is information that you can utilize in a whole slew of industries. And I'm not just talking about travel within travel industry kinds of industries. I'm talking about parallel things. So if you have a moment, Brussels, Ruth, hello. Mount Shasta, Veronica. I love this international crowd because it pleases me. One of my big things is that you and I are supposed to know each other. That's one of the reasons why I love travel as much as I do. So please stay with us. If you have a chance, please do turn off your cell phone, turn off Facebook. If you are lovers of travel and you're serious about knowing how to travel, the next 60 or 90 minutes, we're going to take as long as I need to take, so I make sure you guys understand this stuff, may change your life. It totally changed my life. I didn't even know it at the beginning. Also, I have a list of questions by you, and I'm going to do everything I can to get to as many of them while this is going on, but in all likelihood, I'm going to have to wait until the very end, and please accept my apology for that. All right. So that's enough of the preamble, a little about me. My name is Devin Galladay, and for the last 12 years, I have been the editor-in-chief of In the Know Traveler. It is a respected online publication, and it's not huge. I'm not the next Huffington Post. I'm not intending to be, but we do cover 189 countries around the world. I have a number of other travel sites, and for the last 16 years, I have been a freelance travel journalist. I've written for the Huffington Post and trade publications like Travel Age West and Technorati, and a number of other, you might see me in the front pocket of airlines once in a while. Particularly Turkish Airways, which is kind of a fun thing. Sasha, hello from Piedmont, California. Thank you for being here. So here's the best part. In the last 15 years, 17 years, I've probably traveled at least on 80 free trips in 50 countries all over the globe. I'm in places you'd be surprised to know about. And I've probably gotten about $400,000 in value from free travel. And I mean, like, when I get on the plane, from the moment that the plane takes off to the moment the plane returns back in my destination city, I've paid for zero. That is not always 100% true, because sometimes I've had to buy toothpaste, or once in a while I wanted to kind of go do my own thing. But the point is that there are loads of ways to maximize possibilities, and I'm here to tell you all about that. Hello, Tony from Houston, Texas. Nancy from Ashland, Oregon. I'm sorry, that's probably because you, Nancy, is probably out of sync because your internet speed may be too slow, but there will absolutely be stuff on the replay for you can dig. So anyway, we're here to dig a little bit deeper. I started out with a high school education, no special talents in this. A matter of fact, I was told, like without a question, by my third grade teacher, Mrs. Jones, that I should take a lot of woodshop classes. So that's what I did. I didn't start out with any special bonuses or things like that. And not only all of that kind of stuff going for me, now that we've, like I've done this traveling, my wife and I, Morgana, if you know her, I hope that, she and I are in the process of getting married 100 times in 100 countries. So not only have I traveled, she has traveled. We're going to talk about other people traveling. It's going to be a fun thing. So we're also going to talk about things like mindset, because part of it is, when we think about travel, we think about, especially luxury travel, is for stuff for the really wealthy people. And so, the good news is that it's all possible. And when I started out, it wasn't like that. I was actually started out in poverty, not terribly so, but I mean, we were on welfare. There was a point where, quite literally, my parents had split up and I went door to door looking for food. I mean, it was like, well, maybe we were that poor. It was pretty bad, but it was like, I lived through it and I'm fine. But when I thought about things like what my life would look like in the future, I was thinking, if I wanted something like travel, it would have to be about being a millionaire. And I certainly didn't have any aspirations of that. But I do want to show you this, and pardon my technologically handicapped show you some great pictures. These are just some of them that I have taken that I think I'm presenting them now. Anyway, this is one of my favorite pictures. This is of my wife and I. We're getting married in a castle in San Marino. And I am being knighted at the end. So I am technically a Sir Devon. Me in Lesotho, which is a mountaintop kingdom that is surrounded by South Africa, the Cook Islands. This is Greenland. This is a kava kava ceremony in Fiji. By the way, that is totally not my wife. Don't worry, my wife knew all about it. So we're all good there. This is another one of our weddings. We were actually married by the Minister of Culture in Turkey. Me after making a meal taught by a chef in Thailand. And this is another wedding. Matter of fact, this is Slovenia. That's where it is. If you notice, behind the guy, the guy dressed like the Grand Poobah, that is Lake Bled. So for our Slovenia friend, you know, all I can say is I totally love Slovenia. So these are just some of the pictures. And so now we are moving back to me. And so the point of all of those pictures are all of them were free trips, everything, like across the board, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The whole thing was taken care of. Absolutely amazing. And so I want to share that with you. And so beautiful. Oh, good. I'm glad you like that. And I love Morgana too. Thank you, Jenny. So the point is that never having to worry about a trip relieves a lot of things. There's a lot of people on the planet that are going through challenges and difficulties. I don't want to necessarily have to be one of them. And I want you to really sort of get how all of this works. And how it really starts is through the tourism boards and industries that are travel related. Simply as that. And it's not just like a $1 million business. It is billions and billions and billions of dollars. So I want you to get sort of used to the idea that major corporations, tourism boards, visitors and convention center bureaus, historic destinations, billion-dollar companies like the Marriott, they all have money on trips and they need to spend it on somebody. I'm going to explain how that works in a little bit, but I need to kind of throw this out. Oh, Ted, next wedding. I need to make my travel arrangements. Well, I totally want you there. I'm not sure. It's either going to be in South Africa. It may be in Mexico again. And honestly, I'm kind of crossing my fingers on Uruguay because I really want to go there. So anyway, I need to say that the results that I'm going to be talking about are not typical. In other words, I'm going to walk you I'm going to walk you through a system that has worked for me for the last 16 years. The reason why the results aren't typical is because the average person is not going to do anything with the information that I'm giving you. This is true of any course that you take, period. If you take a French class in high school, most people are not going to take, or they're not going to be speaking French. However, I'm saying this as sort of like a disclaimer, but I'm telling you, if you just do even a fraction of what I suggest that you do, you are absolutely going to travel for free. I'm just talking about the stuff that has worked for me and nothing more. So bottom line, this is not any kind of scam. This is not about couch surfing. This is not about dumpster diving or teaching English as a second language in China somewhere. This is about luxury travel. This is about the stuff that I actually do, the places that I go, the fantastic resorts. So here's the thing that I want you to kind of dig. Oh, hey, Mary from Salem, Oregon. Welcome. So probably I'm going to start right here, okay? My first show and tell item is that most people come up with a reason why they can't. And the number one that I question that I get constantly is, how do you do this? And then when I tell them, their second comment is, I can't do this, can I? And so I want you to know when I started this, I had no journalism degree, I had no credentials, I had no money, I didn't have time. I was, so all the stuff that I see from people all the time about being too old or too young. Is this picture backwards? Can you see this right? Because it's a little weird on my end. Let me know that you can read this. Otherwise, I'll see if I can fix that. That said, there is a whole slew of reasons of why people suggest that they cannot do this. And it's really not. None of this stuff is true. I didn't start with any of it. This is sort of like a terrible mindset kind of thing. So really understand that you don't need any special tools or skills or anything that is out of the ordinary. A matter of fact, you being you is precisely what is going to help you get the kind of trips. Okay, yes, it's fine. Good. I love that because it's kind of weird on my end. So I'm glad that you're seeing it correctly. So just keep that, take that little nugget, put it in your pocket, and know that whatever it is that you are, whoever it is that you've decided you are, whoever it is that you hope to become, each stage of those things is actually completely useful to the people who supply trips. So get that out of your head. It's not your decision. And I'm going to teach you probably the most important thing. Ooh, we got somebody from Egypt. I love that. Hey, Yasser, how are you? So probably the most important thing that I'm going to teach you today, and this is really sort of like, it's partially like a practical bit of information as well as a mindset kind of thing. And it's this, and this is the primary principle I want you to understand, is that value equals leverage. In other words, as an example, some of you folks are going to be here because I'm going to be teaching you how to get a free airline ticket. I'm happy to provide that. And part of what's going to make that happen is you guys are going to hang around and watch this thing, and hopefully you're going to get really fantastic information to get way more than that. The idea here is that I'm going to be providing value to you in exchange for you to kind of hang around with us for a few minutes. So I hope it's going to be useful to you. I absolutely want it to be useful to you. And you know, we're going to have some fun. I'm going to tell you some stories. So some of the things we're going to cover, I'm going to teach you how to utilize the travel industry to legally and ethically take advantage of the perks that they offer travel writers. And I'm talking about 5-star accommodations, Michelin star restaurants, one-of-a-kind travel experiences, the whole thing. I'm also going to show you how to leverage what you already have, what has already worked for me numerous times, that will help decision makers want to pick you for future trips. Also, I'm going to teach you about the concepts of what to do and how to be prepared in order to make all this stuff happen. So screen froze. Okay, so I think it is probably on your end. You may want to back out and then come back in. It's probably just a you know, just a internet bandwidth kind of thing. But I want to tell you how about I started into the industry. And so it's my story of travel, and I guess that's why it's important. So first off, let me tell you about my trip to Iceland. The first time I went to Iceland, actually the only time I went to Iceland, I had saved up for it. And I planned on doing the backpacking thing, and I planned on, you know, seeing Iceland. And to be quite honest with you, I didn't even know why I was going. I mean, I told everybody sort of like as a goof that I would be screaming naked on a fjord, which, by the way, I eventually did. No, I'm not showing you any pictures about that. But so I'm going to Iceland. And before I left, because I really didn't know why I was going, and this was, geez, this is 20 years ago, I wrote every single Icelander I could find. And at the time, not everything was .com. Like if you lived in Iceland, your email extension was .is. And so I found every .is email I could. Like there was like, you know, bloggers and just people putting up photos and stuff. And I wrote 170 of them. I wrote 170 of these people, basically saying, hey, listen, I don't know why I'm coming to your country, but I am. I'm coming to your country. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really excited. Would you please tell me what your favorite restaurant is? Where should I visit? What's your favorite landmark? What things should I know about? How will I, you know, what do I talk to Icelanders about? And I made a whole list of things. And so after I sent off this letter, 170 at a time, I don't even think I knew how to write more than one email at a time, like not like a blind copy thing. So I wrote all of them, and I got, out of all of it, one response. And so I go to Iceland, and I meet with this woman. She wasn't, so I go to Iceland and I come back and I meet her and I have a spectacular time. It was actually a really important trip for me. But here was the really important thing, is that this woman that I had met in Iceland, she was just, pardon me, but she just kicked butt royally. She was so smart, and we started exchanging little letters here and there. And she would tell me at the bottom of every single letter, here's all of the fantastic things that I've accomplished. And then I would write her back saying, oh, I didn't accomplish anything. I mean, I didn't say it. I tried to make it sound interesting, but like in my heart, I knew I wasn't kind of doing anything that was going to be really valuable. So I send her on a lark. I sent her, and she was quite literally, she was like, oh, I'm putting out a comedy album. Oh, I'm putting out a new record. Oh, I'm doing this new thing. Oh, I'm meeting with the Dalai Lama. I don't know how she did it, but she just kept doing it. It was remarkable. And one day I got really, what is, again, .is? That's just the email extension that everybody from Iceland had 20 years ago. Now that's all changed, but this is when I was writing people and traveling in Iceland. So what I do is I come home and I'm exchanging letters with this woman, and as a lark, because she had all this great stuff going on, I wrote a little story and I sent it to her. Even though Mrs. Jones telling me I should take woodshop classes is rattling around in the back of my head. So I send her this little story, and she writes me back and she goes, didn't you see like the third link from the bottom that talks about this new book that I'm putting together? The submissions are over, but I can get it read. I promised that I would get it read. So I sent her, she goes, send me something new by Thursday on this subject and we'll do it. And so I sent her this story, and it was probably like, geez, I mean, this was 16 years ago. This was a long time ago. And I didn't hear back from her, but I heard back from an Italian publisher who said, you're on page 52 and the Dalai Lama's on page 118. And so this is the very first story. I don't know if you can see that. There's my name. The very, very first story that I had ever written in my life. And it got published. And by the way, here is the Dalai Lama's, where is it? Oh yeah, there we go, Dalai Lama. So my very first story is in with the Dalai Lama, and it is thrilling. Like this is a drug kind of thing. And by the way, the woman that I made friends with, the one lone Icelander who actually got in contact with me, turns out she is now still kicking royal butt. She is a member of parliament. And believe it or not, she started WikiLeaks with Julian Assange. She's like a hugely famous international, depending on what side of the fence you are, either a terrible person or a fantastic person. I only know her, like, she's changed my life. So it gave me freedom and liberation. And for me, wanting to travel was only escalated. I wanted to do it more all the time. And all of a sudden I got this thing. And so because I loved the writing part of it, in spite of Mrs. Jones, I ended up calling every single person I knew and saying, do you know an editor? I want to write magazine articles. And I eventually found myself in a place where I'm speaking to a travel magazine magazine editor. And I said to him, I want to write for you. And he goes, I don't need you. And I said, I totally get that. But, if you're ever in a bind, please think of me. And he goes, yeah, but I won't. And I don't. And I'm not worried about you. And thank you, but I have writers. And I said, I get that. But one day when you're in a bind, please think of me. And this goes back and forth, like, until he was like, okay, whatever, thank you. He ended up calling me up probably like on a weird Tuesday and said, hey, listen, I'm in a bind. Do you have a valid passport? And I said, yes. And he said, can you be on a plane in 3 days to go to Mexico for an assignment? And I said, how much will it cost me? And he goes, nothing, zero. And he chuckled. And he goes, don't worry about it. It's taken care of. And so I did. I got on this plane and I landed in Cancun, and this guy was waiting for me with one of those signs that says like Mr. Galladay on it, which was stunning. And I got into like this beautiful black Lincoln Continental, sat in the back. He drove me out to this unbelievable resort in Playa del Carmen. And I get out and I'm led to the front desk. And quite literally, as I check in, and at the time, all I had was like a rucksack with the patches all over it from different countries. And that was my luggage. And I threw it on the counter and I said, "Hi, my name is Devin. I'm here to check in." And it was quite literally, the woman behind the counter goes, and people lined up, like somebody handing me a cool drink, somebody giving me a cold compress because it was warm and tropical in Mexico. And they lined up. And finally, the guy at the end of the line was the assistant manager. And he literally puts his arm around me and he walks me off to the side and he says, "Mr. Galladay, anything you want." And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yep." And I said, I want all the lyrics to Cuando Caliente de Sol, and I want a patch for my rucksack that says Mexico. And he looked at me like I was a moron. And he said, "Okay." And there was a moment where it was almost like a parting of the clouds and the caroling angels sing, that was like, oh my gosh, this is actually a real thing that I could be doing. And anyway, it started off on a whole thing. And so what I want to share with you is that, and this is sort of like tip number one. Matter of fact, let me tell you another story first. So I started writing for this magazine. I also started writing for a Spanish language magazine, who, because she was in a bind and then she thought of me, I ended up writing, like, my first article for her was the health benefits of the chili pepper. And when I spoke to her on the phone, she goes, "Do you speak Spanish fluently?" And I said, "No." And she goes, "I don't need you." And I said, "Well, one day if you're ever in a bind." She called me up at 9:30 at night and said, "I need 300 words on the health benefits of the chili pepper." And so that's what I did. I wrote her, and she goes, "Oh, and I need it in an hour." And I was like, I just said yes, and then hung up the phone and was terrified. But that's what I did. So I started writing these magazine articles, and I eventually got a trip to St. Lucia, which is a tiny Caribbean nation. I think it used to be part of Jamaica, and it's only been around like as an independent country for the last 25, 30 years. So not a really long time. And I was out there in a place called downtown Castries and walking around with the ladies with the billowing muumuus and the machetes, opening up fresh coconuts and bananas. It was amazing. And this tiny little woman took me by the hand, and it was crowded, but I was basically like, I was like the one white face in this huge sea of local St. Lucians. And she took me by the hand and she goes, "Shirley thinks you look hungry." And she led me through from the outside and down this corridor that had all of these little kiosks for food. And she took me in and she sat me down on a weird little three-legged chair, and she gave me a platter of food. I mean, it was a humongous platter, and piled it high with all kinds of homemade foods. And there was food splattered on the ceiling and paint chipping, and it wasn't the most appetizing place. But she set down this plate of food, and I got to tell you, I took one bite. It was the worst meal I've ever had in my life. However, Shirley and I talked about life and philosophy and why she doesn't necessarily love Jamaicans. And we had an incredible time together. And when I went back and told the travel editor I was writing for, I said, I want to write about Shirley because this is why we travel, to know each other. There was like a spiritual thing going on. And he said, and I told him this long story about the food and the peeling paints and the food splattered on the ceiling and the whole thing. And he's like, "Yeah, that sounds great. I need 800 words on the hotel." And so at that moment, I decided I'm going to start a website. And I didn't know anything about the web. And I was still had this whole feeling of, that I'm not good enough or smart enough because Mrs. Jones told me I needed to be a woodshop guy. And honestly, that's kind of what I did for a long time. So I had this incredible experience. I started from scratch, and this is part of the reason why I like it. It took me a long time to kind of get here. It doesn't have to be for you. A lot of things have changed. So here is my main tip number one. tip number one is that this will require some work. Not an incredible ton of work, not the worst amount of work you've ever done in your life, but a little bit of consistent work. In other words, working with tourism boards and marketing branches and attractions and CVBs in different towns and different destinations and hotels and all that kind of stuff requires some effort on your part. So how does it work? It works, it's really not that complicated. It is, imagine this, company A, let's say it's a tourism board, and wherever you live, you know, I've got people here from South Africa, like there is a South African tourism board. I can tell you that for an absolute fact. There are people from Houston. Matter of fact, I'm supposed to have lunch with Houston like next week. I don't think I can make it. I have had lunch with the tourism board from Egypt. So I'm just looking at some of the places that I'm seeing here. There are tourism places all over the world because tourism means money. So tourism board, basically what they do is they compile information. They, you know, everything from like, where's the restroom from the tourism board's agency or the information center, all to sort of like the grandest, you know, like the grandest treks that you'd ever want to make. They're going to have all of that information. But at the same time, they're competing with all of these human beings. A tourism board's job is to get as many human beings as possible there, but they don't necessarily know people or have the time to do that. What they do is they hire PR firms, or sometimes they have in-house marketing departments that will find the people that will help, and they'll do this through advertising, or they'll do this because they have lists. But a lot of them do it because they have connections to journalists. It's these journalists that are really, really important. And there's a reason for it, is because the tourism board is basically a governmental agent. And the governmental agent can't say ridiculous off-the-wall things. And more importantly, they can't sound like a real person. A PR firm has a similar kind of problem. In other words, they're still, in most likely cases, somebody that has to worry about the language that they use. They have to use marketing techniques. They have to do all kinds of things. But at some point, they're kind of like a corporation. And what we understood with the internet is that what really sells individual travel is you. Your voice, your opinions, your interpretation. This is why huge websites they want you to leave your feedback because it helps promote them. And it promotes them in an honest, real way. So what do you think the tourism boards are looking for? I'll give you one guess. They're looking for you, and they're looking for your honest assessment of their destination, something that talks about them, because they want to be in the news somehow. What are PR firms looking for? They're looking for you. They want you to talk about the things that they want on their agenda. Remember, I talked about it a couple minutes ago. We were talking about how to leverage value. It's a really important thing, is that you should know that you have value just by being who you are. So does this mean they want you? Yes, absolutely. However, before you jump all in and start banging down their door, you need to understand, and this leads me to tip number 2, it sounds like it may not be important. It's incredibly important. So this is know exactly what you want. And basically what I'm talking about is you have to be able to deliver something. But before we get to that, you have to kind of have real clarity on what it is that you are hoping to get from them. So if you want free lunch somewhere from some great restaurant, that's terrific. But you have to know precisely what you're looking for. You don't want to call them up with having nothing to gain from it. You're not calling up to say hello under any circumstance. Matter of fact, what I would say is, always, the first contact should be about, letting them know who you are. But there's more precise stuff about that, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. So anyway, how does this all sound? Does this sound pretty fair to you? How are we doing over there? I know that I'm throwing a lot of information. We've got some stories going on, but I hope this has been fun so far and that it is interesting. So, when you're contacting them, a matter of fact, what I would suggest is that you don't really want to make it about you. You want to make it about um, how you might be able to help them, what you might be able to do for them. A matter of fact, which is going to lead me to tip number 3, which is, and this is like, these two go together. Tips 2 and 3 go together. They're incredibly important. Tip number 3 is know exactly what you offer. This, my friends, is the absolute crux of the whole kind of thing. Are you offering, you can offer your voice, but you're also going to want to offer perhaps articles and photos or reviews or videos or interviews or social media, all kinds of things. And here's the funny thing. You'd probably think after 7 really good at this. I'm not. I'm actually terrible at it. Part of the reason why I know this is because I've made a million mistakes on me not being clear about the kinds of things that I offer, which makes me a bit of a knucklehead. That said, I've gotten really good at being clear. I've gotten really good at talking about the kinds of things that I offer, and I don't overpromise anything. A matter of fact, one of the second assignments I ever got is that I was sent a press release, and it was actually for the Bowers Museum in Santa Ana, it's near Disneyland. Anyway, Bowers Museum had mummies, and they wanted somebody to come over. And so I get on the phone with this director of marketing for the Bowers Museum, and I say, "Hi, my name is Devin Galladay. I want to come by and interview you." And by the way, the magazine didn't want an article from me. It was just me wanting to, I don't know, go see the mummies. And so we're talking and it's going really well. And this marketing guy goes, "Oh, by the way, who are you writing for?" And quite literally on my coffee table where I was standing was Time and Newsweek. So I say, "Oh, I write for Time and Newsweek." And he didn't say anything, like, this is normal. And I hung up the phone and I thought to myself, well, this is horrendous because I'm going to have to somehow pretend that I am a writer for both Time and Newsweek. So I drive down, I was living in Los Angeles, and I drive like 45 minutes to get to this guy. And I'm like, oh, this is miserable. And I get out and he's standing there with like his marketing assistant. So I shake all of their hands and I say, I don't know why I said that. I don't write for Time and Newsweek. If you want, I will leave right now out of humiliation. And he said, "Yeah, don't worry about it. Can you write an article about the Bowers Museum?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Yeah, that's what we need." So understand that you do not have to be Time and Newsweek in order to make this stuff happen. So what we're talking about is that in this third tip is that you really need to start helping define what you are going to bring to the table, because it is going to be a value exchange. Picking an avenue, delivering on your promises, all that kind of good stuff. Most lovers of travel think, I don't have the time, it's too much work. I promise you, it's really not that way. What all of this means is, like, I have an elevator pitch. My name is Devin Galladay. I'm the editor-in-chief and publisher of In the Know Traveler. We cover 189 countries around the world, and I would really love to come up with a way to help promote you. 10 seconds, really simple. It's really clear. I want them to, let's see, can you give us an example of what an email would look like? I think you can, what I just said is an email, but we'll try to get to that in a little bit, Jenna, to get some more specifics for you. Okay, so what kind of value? Because I know some of you are saying, well, but I don't have a website and I don't have these things and it's really complicated and it's challenging and I'm confused and all that other stuff. So here's the kinds of value, all right? One is that you have an audience. And that's great. If you are already a blogger, if you already have a list, if you already have a great clientele, if you already are interested in the travel industry or have connections, this is all great. But equally as important is somebody else's audience. When I started out, I had no audience at all. I mean, right now in the No Travelers, pretty cool. Like I have people coming there all the time. I have people that visit my site in large quantities every single day. But what does that mean? That means when I started, I wasn't writing for myself. It didn't exist. But the magazines I was writing for did have an audience. As a matter of fact, they had an audience that tourism professionals wanted. Sometimes it's even less than that. Sometimes when you start working with the different tourism boards, they're going to have events. Go to the event wherever possible. When you go to the event, look like you kick butt. Don't look like you're rolling out of bed. Sometimes it's just a matter of convenience. Oh, I spoke with Larry just recently. Why don't we, I'll just send Larry on a trip. He seems like a good guy. If you are enthusiastic about a particular destination, make it known. Talk about the place like you love it. So enthusiasm goes a long way. And by the way, over time, reliability counts. That means if a tourism board or anybody else can see that you're writing consistently, that you can send them links, you can do stuff, you are gold, my friend. I mean, so I understand that, there's a lot of people who are probably watching this thinking, well, not me. And you have a whole slew of reasons in your head. I'm just telling you, stop it. Don't do it. You can do this. Thumbs up, promise, cross my heart. So how do you find people? Okay. So do you mind if I get technical with you? It's complicated. Okay, ready? If you have a pen, I hope you've been taking notes all this time. So I want you to write down HTTP:// I'm going to put it here for you so you have no excuses. There you go. Really, really simple. What you would do is you would type in, as an example, to our friend in South Africa, you would say something to the effect of South African tourism. And that's what you would do. You would go and find the marketing department, or you might even say, if you live outside of the country, you might say, hey, who's your PR firm? You might write them, like there might be a contact box or there might be an email, and you might go to the press company of the place that you're looking for, or where it says press contact, it might be at the very bottom of the page. But I'm telling you, like, Jenny needs a repeat. So let me break that down for you one more time. Google.com. It's really easy stuff. I'm telling you, like every single place that you can think of in the world, every major and fairly significant city, as well as cities that have some particular kind of notoriety to them. Like Los Angeles has a huge, huge tourism office because it's 10,000 people and it's one of the most, popular destinations in the world. So now that we have Google out of the way, all right, so again, some of you folks are probably saying, not quite me, not quite right, not quite something or other. Here's another important thing, like, I don't have it yet. Okay, ready? Tip number 4. This is another doozy for you. Perceived value becomes real when delivered. Like, I get it. I get it. You may be sitting there going, well, I have this great idea, but I'm not there yet. I'm waiting for it to be perfect. You don't need for it to be perfect. Let me tell you, at the beginning of this slide presentation I showed you, where it was like, pictures of my wife and I getting married all over the world. So how did that happen? So I wrote an email that said, hey, this is Devin. My wife and I were just taking a personal trip. We were going to these countries. I'm, she doesn't have the same sort of insider information I do, but I was like going to go and do this. And Yeah, that's funny, Gina. Yeah, we have common friends in Google. So what I do is I literally said, oh, my wife wants to go to Croatia. And I wrote them and I said, hey, this is Devin Galladay. Here's my little, some little factoids about me. We're going to come to Croatia and we would, I want hotels. I want these things that I need to make this trip great. My wife will be there. And P.S. So all this travel stuff with weddings we've got was based on P.S. My wife and I are getting married 100 times in 100 countries. And do you know a hobo and a shady Glen? And I got back from her and said, well, we don't have hobos in Croatia. What is a hobo? And I think we could do something better. And so what ended up happening in Croatia was matter of fact, that's where they shoot Game of Thrones. So who do you think shot our wedding videos? Game of Thrones. Who helped? The tourism board of Dubrovnik. And so we had a great hotel. We had a great 5-star hotel that was like right outside of downtown. It was an incredible trip. And by the way, when I wrote her this, we had nothing. I didn't have anything to say to her. It's not like we had a show. We didn't have a website. We didn't have anything. So the point is at some point, I was able to deliver on my promise through web information. Matter of fact, we ended up on TV because it's a fun story and it's sort of interesting and cute. And now, I mean, again, we've been married in 15 different countries, a total of 18 times. With, by the way, this second, right now, we're going to get married in Costa Rica. I mean, we've already spoken to them. I had lunch with them just recently. I've been on the phone with South African Airways, and we're looking to do trips in coming up very soon in Southern Africa. So we have some really fun stuff based on the fact that I can't necessarily guarantee television or other things like that. What I will do, obviously, as you might imagine, at this stage of the game, I can certainly publish the stories myself. I have avenues in which I will be able to promote things. But it didn't start that way, not even close. So if you have a brilliant idea that is compelling, I guarantee you there is somebody around your world that wants you to help promote them. So what have we covered so far? We have covered, I taught how to utilize the travel industry legally, ethically, to take advantage of their perks. Google, remember that? Gina knows all about that. So to ethically use them, to use their 5-star perks to get accommodation, Michelin star restaurants, one-of-a-kind travel experiences, all this great stuff. And by the way, again, this is the point of tourism. You are not doing it because I've had people say, well, isn't that wrong? Don't I need to have a certain journalistic degree? No. Like when I started, I had Mrs. Jones dancing my skull, telling me what a nincompoop I was. So we showed you how to leverage what has worked for me and countless others by utilizing value that to help make decision makers want to offer you these trips. Because, and one of the ways this all works is that everybody's competing. They have money to do all this. So what that means in sort of like the most layman's terms possible is that there is, they have money to spend. Somebody needs to go on a trip. They need somebody to write great articles. Sadly, the magazine universe has been killed. There are very, very few good travel magazines left, like Afar, National Geographic, and they only have so many pages to work with. So these tourism boards with millions of dollars, like a few years ago, the Mexican Tourism Board had something like $1.7 billion in investment for tourism because they are going to get billions on return. So that means they are bringing people from trips all over the world at any time. I remember having dinner with the tourism guy from Wales. Wales, tiny country in the UK. It's not a big country. Sent 600 people a year to Wales. Anybody interested in going to Wales? He needs 600 people a year to do it. So it's a good thing. Again, so the next thing, part of my promise is that I showed you how to be prepared so you know that you can offer something that will make a difference and provide them value and offer them happiness. So we're closing in on the land of free trips. Is this pretty cool? How are we doing? Does this make sense to you? Type in yes or something, just so I know that we are. So what's the idea? Write articles where, to whom? It could be, again, it's all of that. It is, if you have a website, you have to just provide some value. The value that I was talking about is, give me a second. Sorry, I didn't mean to be vague, because sometimes I know what I'm talking about. Maybe I'm not making myself clear. So the kinds of values is that, yes, you can write an article, but could it be a video? Yes. Could it be an interview? Yes. It could be a whole slew of different possible things in order. And once in a while, sometimes you get a trip just because you happen to be around. So you make contacts with the people that are here to help and support you. I hope that makes sense. And it could, like I said, it could be anything. And I mean, there are so many websites now, lots of good ones. They're all looking for great content. So you can find them. I use content. People mail me articles every single day. They want me to use their videos. They want me to use their photos. They want me to use all kinds of stuff. So, well, by the way, Gina, you can totally do what I do. And Jenny, yes, it absolutely makes sense. And yes, matter of fact, Jenny's using a word that says familiarization. Familiarization is basically a term used that makes sense. In other words, the tourism boards offer familiarization trips in order to familiarize you with the destination so you can write accurate articles. Makes pretty sense, right? Okay, so we've got, by the way, I've got 3 more big bonus tips that are going to be incredibly useful. So if you can, take 2 seconds and write one word down in this corner that will give, use one word to describe what you've learned so far, just so I know that we're on the same page. Jomar, can you give us an example? Let me see if I can find you further down in here. Yeah, an example is that, let's say you shoot videos and you put them on YouTube and you get a following that offers enough value to somebody, says, I'm going to shoot you a video. Maybe it might be, I'm going to call them up and say, I shoot videos. Can I shoot a video for South African tourism? I would love to go there, and I have all of these great credentials or interesting credentials or useful credentials in order to help you. Now, big countries may say no unless you have something that is a little bit more value filled, but it's not as, it doesn't have to be as great as you think it may need to be. Yes, have I sent people on trips? Lots. I've sent people all over the world. As a matter of fact, over the last 12 years, I have sent certainly 25 writers, probably well over that. I mean, it's not like the kind of thing that I've counted, because what happens is sometimes I get more trips than I want to go to, and sometimes a writer writes for me and I want to say thank you to them. A matter of fact, not only because I know people want like proof and stuff like that, and I want to give it to you. So I've sent not only writers on this, but like if you were to go to my Facebook page right now, there are probably 1,500 travel writers and people that are in the travel industry that do this kind of thing. So it's not like it's a secret, but a couple interesting things have happened. Since we have the internet, everybody's a blogger. How do these tourism boards and PR firms decipher who's great and who's legit and who's valuable and who isn't? Well, they don't know. And they've come up with all kinds of weird, algorithms in hopes of, figuring out exactly who that is. So I want to share a couple pictures with you. Sorry for this screen share thing. So yeah, so there we are back in Slovenia. And a matter of fact, so I've sent people, a matter of fact, on this particular trip, this is a trip to Japan, there was actually a point where the Japanese National Tourism Organization came to me and said, hey, we want to fill a trip, but we don't know any writers in America. Really, that's how ridiculous it is. Could you help us find some real writers? So what do you think my answer was? Sure. What do you think I did? I brought people that I liked. I think I filled like 4 or 5 slots of writers who just wanted to go to Japan with me. And it was a pretty fantastic trip. This is, a matter of fact, I just sent the, I believe this is in Antigua. Maybe it's not. I think it's Antigua. The reason why I put this picture up is because, in part, I love it. You're getting a low-res version, but I totally love this picture. It's pretty fantastic. But here's a picture of Jordan. It's at a market. And so one of my writers, and by the way, the guy is a sweetheart. At some point when I was new, and this is like 10 years ago, he wrote me and basically said, I want to write for you. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. And he kept saying, well, please. And I said, no, it's okay. Don't worry about it. And he just kept saying, please. And eventually I said, oh, okay, fine. And he started writing stuff. He became useful. He started offering me value. Was he a writer? No, he wasn't. He's still not a great writer, but he's a good guy, and he writes well enough to have stuff that I need to have done. He is, a matter of fact, his story is kind of fascinating. When he was in his early 20s, he had some sort of an illness that quite literally turned off his brain and restarted it. And he had to learn how to walk and talk and speak all over again. And so this guy wanted to write for me. And like, I'm thinking, how am I even going to use this guy? He's like in Portland. Long story short, when I was in St. Lucia, I had this trip to Jordan. And I thought to myself, oh, well, there'll be more trips to Jordan. Anyway, long story short, while he's in Jordan, they take him to Petra. They take him to, they put him on camels and take him out into the desert. They take him to Jeresh, which is like the seat of civilization. It's like 12,000 years old. And I am jealous. And while he's there, they say literally on the trip was a woman who managed Egyptian travel and said, oh, you're in Jordan, you should come to Egypt. And so not only did they take him to Egypt, they took him and brought him inside the pyramids. Can I tell you how jealous I am? I am a ridiculous sort of jealous, because I never got another trip with Jordan because they didn't have one when I could go. I'm probably going to go to Egypt sooner than later, but it is incredible. So let's see, years ago I got started in the same way as you, as an entertainment and restaurant reviewer. So Veronica, you already kind of get a handle on where we're going here. So let's see, Millie, so if you've ever find yourself in a bind, call me, my passport is ready. That's a great line. Matter of fact, that is one of the best lines I have heard in ages. So what I am, anyway, we've got all this great stuff going on. I think you probably get it. Some of you are going to go off and do your thing. Some of you are going to really want to, and you're going to feel good getting off of this call. And it's like, oh, there's this world of possibility. And the word of possibility is fantastic. The only downside to it is that it's big, and sometimes it's scary and uncomfortable, and people don't like taking action. So what part of my job is to take this big, scary potential and make it into little bite-sized pieces, so you can have all of the possibility without it being uncomfortable, overwhelming, weird, all that kind of stuff. So what I am going to offer is I have a special program. It is for people who really want to, like, do you want me to break it down and make it easy for you? And if nothing else, I'm going to give you some more tips, and I'm also going to be giving you airline tickets. So I have a program. It's called the Travel for Free Accelerator. And I want to tell you a little bit about you. It's all about traveling the world for free. It is all of the stuff, because like I said, what I've given you is sort of like a broader breadth. And for some people, that's going to be fantastic. And for a lot of other people, you're going to need a little bit more of the details so you can go step by step and feel confident without being overwhelmed. Because the last thing I want you to do is get off the phone or get off the internet and go, oh, this is, that sounded great yesterday, but today sounds like I can't do it. And I don't want you to do it, because I want you to be able to do it. Matter of fact, The tourism industry probably wants you to do it as well, because the stuff I'm going to be teaching you is going to be geared directly on how to work with them so they feel great about it. You take away their guesswork. So can I tell you about it a little bit? So here's what we got. The Travel Free Accelerator, what I have on all of this is it's basically 3 live group coaching sessions with replays. It covers all the stuff. And by the way, you know, I'm going to give you some details right now. But by the way, I wish I had this stuff that I'm about to give you when I first started out. I'm assuming you're going to want to receive huge discounts on your retreats and business travel, earn more profits, hopefully offer these kinds of information bits to clients and make it more intriguing for coaching programs and destination retreats. So, and the truth of the matter is, if you're not, you probably should be. And again, we go back to travel's expensive, sometimes frustrating, sometimes scary for people who, you know, don't want to just get off on a train somewhere and start looking around. And more importantly, there's a lot of, I would argue, like when I was growing up, travel seemed a very far away place because we were just poor. Simple as that. That's what rich people did. Rich people got on planes and they went to fantastic places. And so we are taking that all away. So what you get is you get 3 live group coaching sessions with me. You get module 1 is about how to stand out from the competition. I'm going to tell you precisely how to speak to the people in the tourism boards and the, you know, really it's going to be everything, whatever it is that you need. And of course, I'm going to be answering questions every step along the way. So you're going to focus on that. We are going to, sorry, I have a technical thing on my end going on. So I'm offering you a special bonus trip. When you reach out to these tourism boards, the last thing that you're going to do, you're not going to ask for trips right off the bat. What you're going to do is you are going to get to know somebody. You are going to develop a relationship. And again, module 1 is all about the relationship. And it's, like I said, again, I have gone to events where writers and bloggers are practically begging for a trip. And if I beg you for something, or if I ask you for it for 20 times, and after 2 minutes after knowing me, you're probably not going to get it. By the way, I have a lot of people who they just write me a letter saying, oh, I want a free trip. So do you think that they are high on my list? No, I'm looking for people who are going to help me and provide value along the way. So module 1 gets you ahead of the competition, and there's some great details in that. Module 2 is about creating value. It is about articles, it is about videos, it's about whatever it is that you can create that will be useful. And I'm telling you, think outside of the box. You're going to have some amazing things, and I'm going to talk to you all about that. And again, all of this comes with replays. Bonus tip number 2, really, really important. Showcase your value early. That means on phone call 1, on email 1, on your first face-to-face meeting, you want to make sure that you can tell them about your value right off the get-go. The sooner they start thinking of you as a value within yourself, the sooner they can start considering you for trips that would be good for you. I hope that makes a whole lot of sense. So module number 3 is about getting more trips. In other words, it's taking some of the basic information and throwing it into overdrive. I'm hoping everybody here loves overdrive, because this is not about one trip. Like, I can tell you for a fact, I have been to Costa Rica 4 times, and my wife and I are going back again this summer. We're going to get a ridiculous bomb wedding. Not only that, we're picking where we want to go. So it is about the long-term relationships. And I want you, like, I've been to Mexico on free travel probably 30 times. I go to Mexico probably twice a year, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little yet less. But I mean, I go to Mexico again, like once every few months. So you probably want that kind of value as often as possible, and I want to make sure that you have it. So now, which leads us to the bonus tip number 3, which is over-deliver on your promises. And by the way, that is my goal here. I want you like, oh, Devin's a good guy. He's on my team. He's going to give me everything that I need. So bonus tip on over-delivering. Anytime you write, let's say if you promise that you're going to write an article, or I'm going to shoot a video, or I'm going to do an interview. If you do that and you give them exactly what you tell them to, fantastic. If you have any chance of giving a little bit more, and maybe it's just a photo gallery, if you have your own website, maybe it's on a smaller site, or it's on your own blog or whatever, and you do a little bit more, I guarantee you that will keep, like, that will resonate with them, because they know they're going to get a little bit, whatever it is that you say, you're going to give them a little bit more. They love that. I went to Macau a few years back, and they wanted me to shoot videos. They were doing this special presentation, and I did the special presentation, and I shot the 5 videos just as they asked. And then I went on and wrote 3 articles for a national magazine. Do you think they were happy? The answer would be totally. All right, so it's all about the over delivery. So what we have here is we have the live group coaching sessions with replays. We have the 3 modules about standing out from the competition, value creation, and getting more trips. And there's going to be a live 90-minute Q&A. And to be quite honest with you, it'll go as long as it needs to. I want to make sure that I answer all of your questions, and I take questions, during this course. So you're basically talking about 4 weeks that we will have together. And what we are talking about is really about $2,000 worth of value, because you will be able to travel for free for life. Hopefully you are just absolutely loving that. And you can use this information as a hobby for whatever, and it's going to be worth far more than $2,000. I know that sounds pricey, but don't worry. Stick with me. Stick with me to the very end, because I'm also throwing in a private Facebook group. The Facebook group is already there. It's already established. It's from people who have already graduated, who are actually doing what it is that you hope to do, and you will have access from me basically year-round, because it's just an ongoing group. This is a $135 value, but as you might imagine, that's not all. I am also including 68 pages of interviews with the pros. These are folks that I know within the travel and tourism industry who work with travel writers all the time. They're going to tell you precisely what it is that you need to know about them. We're talking about some, not only a really big PR firm, but a smaller boutique PR firm. I'm also including a couple of the tourism boards. I think Peggy, who was with Thailand for about 25 years, is on here, as well as India. So it's going to be great, as well as another travel magazine editor who is not me. So you get to get some additional insights from somebody who does print publications, and he is an incredible source of information. This is valued at $250. And I'm also throwing in, there's actually a whole bunch of ebooks in the series. So I'm going to be including my easy value templates. It's the stuff that tells you exactly how to create content really fast, really easy. You don't need to be a writer to write travel articles that are good and useful. So this is about making it as easy as possible. This is worth $150. I have also the perfect letter templates. Matter of fact, I think Jenna was asking about these earlier. This means that it's just cutting and pasting letters that I personally use to get started. And it takes you from sort of like from beginning to end in terms of reaching out to people and getting trips. So it's a great start. And again, if you have questions about this, I'm happy to help. This is worth $150. On top of that, for each one of these modules, like I hope you guys are taking notes, and I hope when you join us that you're going to be taking notes for each one of our modules. But I'm going to give you my complete notes so you don't have to do anything. So that means if we run long, if I somehow forget something, I make a mistake, you're going to have it not only through the replay, but you can have my summary notes as well. So if you want to just kind of skim and go through it, you're going to have that available. And this is worth, again, this is for each of the 3 modules, and it is worth $225. Plus, this is my Travel Rockstar checklist that covers all of the sort of like, here's the how-to. This is, you go line by line by line, so you know precisely what to do and when to do it. It's worth $175. So we have the live group coaching sessions, the 3 modules, the 90-minute Q&A. We also have the private Facebook group, 68 pages with industry leaders, and I actually have these on interviews, so I may end up throwing these if you like watching videos. The cut and paste letter templates, the value creator templates, the module summary notes, and my Travel Rockstar checklist. And matter of fact, one of the fun things about this is that when I started doing this, I started doing this when I was just getting out of the film industry. I was actually a film assistant, and I had worked on a whole series of terrible, terrible movies all in a row. I worked on Prophecy 3 and Texas Rangers and Hellraiser 6. And like there are days that you go to the office where you're in love with what you're doing. This was not one of those moments. And I was actually in a perfect position. I was with a crew, and I was going on to the next Scream movie. I think it was Scream 4. And I was really sort of dreading it because I was working 80 hours a week. I had a small, tiny child, my daughter, who was little, and I wanted to be there. I felt like I was missing her growing up. Like I said, 80 hours a week is miserable. The money was great. And then a buddy of mine said, hey, would you like, or actually he didn't say, would you like, he said, do you know of a guy who can swing a hammer? I am remodeling my house. I can't pay a ton, but I'm looking for somebody who can do that. And because I'd taken all those woodshop classes, I said, yep. And I ended up working on roofs and raising the roof line with car jacks and we took everything down to the studs. But while I was on this construction site, I had written a letter to the New Zealand Tourism Board, and they sent me, this is a picture of me on one of my first trips, like my first by myself, not attached to any magazine trip. This is, I think this is 11, probably almost 12 years ago. And I met with the Wizard of New Zealand. It's a real guy. And yes, that is his clown car in the background. Great guy. And I was in New Zealand for 2 weeks, and they gave me a car. They gave me places to stop for breakfast, lunch, and dinner everywhere I went. I was on both North and South Islands. And as a matter of fact, this was my hotel room of where I was staying in Christchurch. So anyway, lots of fun stuff there. And so there is more because, you know, as I read this, I'm kind of feeling like a little bit of a nincompoop. Maybe I'm offering too much stuff, but I really, like I said, I want you to have all kinds of good things. I want you to do all this stuff where it's going to be incredibly useful to you. I want you to be really happy, and I want to give you every single opportunity to get it done. So I'm going to throw in a few more things. I'm going to throw you in my Essential Travel Writer's Guide, which teaches you how to travel write. If you want to be a video guy or do something else or do interviews, this may not be as useful, but the glossary of terms is. It's the stuff that breaks down all of sort of like that language that people in the know have. And so I wrote it all down, and you can have it. This is worth $199. I think it's probably one of the more useful things here to kind of like immediately get you comfortable with what you're going to be doing when you talk to people. So when you talk to a tourism pro, they're going to use language, and I need you to make sure that you know what it is. So I've included it here, and it is, again, part of the gift of this process. I also am giving you a 30-minute quick start call. This is, again, remember when we were talking about the overwhelm of this whole process? I don't want you to have any overwhelm at all. So you can use the 30 minutes anytime you want, but you know, obviously the sooner we get to it, the sooner we can get you in action. And I will help you get on target and on track in any direction that you want to go. And I'll give you some, you know, some direction so you will have that in the future. And that's just you and I, one-on-one, having a talk. This is $150 value because I am not cheap with my time. So what do we got so far? We have the 3 live group coaching sessions with replays. We have the modules, the 3 modules, stand out from the competition, the value creator, get more trips, the 90-minute Q&A. We have the private Facebook group, 68 pages of industry insider information, cut and paste letter templates, value creator, module summary notes, and my travel rockstar guide, my checklist, and my essential travel writer's guide with glossary, 30 minutes one-on-one call with me. And by the way, I'm going to throw in one more thing, but I'm not putting it down because I'm not guaranteeing it. What I'm doing is I'm going to, if you are part of this program, I will guarantee you, and you want to get, because you need street cred, and I need to make sure that you get yourself a byline, I will get you on In the Know Traveler. However, I need to make sure that I have good content because my reputation is at stake. So that means if you write an article, you're going to get it edited, and I may have you rewrite it, or I'm going to tell you what you need to have done. But I guarantee you, no travel editor on the planet is going to give you this. This is like, you know, it's really priceless that you will have yourself a byline. If you already have a website, then you're going to get a byline from a respected travel source. So it really is an excellent value. I don't even know how much how much value that actually is. And it may not be for everybody, because if you don't want to put in a little bit of work, I can't promise you that I'm going to do it. But if you put in even a reasonable amount of work, I'm going to make sure that you get published because I want you to have that. So what we have is a total value of $3,334 of value. And I need to get one more link. Good, lots of notes. I have one more thing to do. I apologize. You won't believe it, but I didn't get the link. There's a link. You need the link. So I think you get it. We are talking about a great product. I think you're going to love it. And let me put this here. There we go. So all of this for $347. Honestly, it's a really great deal. I'm giving you so much stuff. And this, if you play your cards right, will have an absolute lifetime of value. And I'm going to give you the link right now, so it'll put in your box. Okay, sorry about that. And I'm giving you the link right now. So 347, my Travel for Free Accelerator program is all yours. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get out of this thing right now. And I'm coming back to you. Okay, so we have covered a whole lot of ground. Thank you guys so much for your time. I think you're going to love the product. If you have any questions about it, I'm going to be here right now discussing those questions. What else do we need to know? So I think you've got everything. 347. Let's see what else is important. Again, by the way, if you have, is this a 4-week course before the holidays, or can you do it after the first of the year? That's a tough one. I mean, I would love to get started now. I think probably what's going to happen is that I will be, what am I going to be doing? I'm going to take a consensus. We'll see who is on board. And really, if you're not on board, you may not love travel. Like, I love this. So this is what, like, for me, I'd go crazy. And I assure you that the information you get will be like all the stuff that I have. You know, everything that I have to discuss about travel is what you're going to be getting, and real out of the box stuff that nobody really is teaching. And there's so few people that, you know as much stuff as I do. But that said, I think probably what we're going to do is I'm going to shoot, like, part of me wants to say, let's do it next week. But I also understand that part of the holidays can be challenging for people. And what I may do is, if there's enough people on both ends of it, I may do one beforehand and I may do one afterhand for those who want to wait until after the holidays. But my initial thought is that we'll probably do it beforehand, perhaps a week from today. Like I said, we're going to see who's going to get involved. And, like I said, the bottom line is, whether you are available or not for the live calls, you will be able to see replays at your leisure. So the good news is, even if you can't make a live call one of the weeks or 2 of the weeks, you're still going to be able to log in and get the information that you want and the stuff right there. And then I'm still available to answer questions regarding each module along the way. On top of this, I didn't mention it before, I am certified in a whole slew of web presence kinds of things. That means web optimization and website building and SEO, search engine optimization, that will help boost your stuff. We're going to cover that. We're going to cover some techie stuff in Module 2 that is going to be fun and easy. I promise you. I'm going to give you, remember, little bites towards the big picture. So, because we don't do overwhelm here at all. I want you guys traveling, and I want you seeing the world and enjoying your life, and not worried about, is it too much, or waiting for your 2-week vacation, or, however it is that you live your life. I totally want to give you the opportunity. The last thing that I'm going to do is I have a suitcase. I have a suitcase from Rick Steves. And if you are one of the signups from this thing, if you join us, I'm going to give you a value at I think it's valued at $189. One of our future students is going to win it. It shows up. There's nothing you need to do. It's just going to be here. So if you're signing up, you're going to be part of it. If you're looking for a potential piece of luggage, which, by the way, it's really great. I've been using Rick Steves' stuff for years. The dates of the live call, Jenna, I think we are probably going to start next Friday, but we are going to see where people are at with the holidays. So if we have a bunch of people that are sort of like, I can't do it until until January 1st or something, then we could discuss that. But if most people are sort of like ready to go, and I don't blame you, like, I'm ready to go. I want you to have this information, be excited about it. We'll probably start next week, but I'll probably know exactly for sure in the next few days to see how's going on. We are going to keep the shopping cart open. And I think here's the last, well, we've got a couple more bits of information to cover. Did I promise you free airline tickets? I'm going to do that with you right now. This is the stuff that really is like, it's such a no-brainer. I get these things all the time. These things come in the mail constantly. This is $50,000 frequent flyer miles. This is 40,000 frequent flyer miles. There are websites, a matter of fact, I'm going to give you a link. I don't know if I trust the link from the standpoint, like I think it is actually somebody else's link, but I'm going to give it to you right here. So this link that I've just popped for you, this credit card Chase, like you don't have to buy this one. It's really, I'm giving you this as an example. I actually believe it's absolutely not my affiliate link, but I think it's somebody else's affiliate link, and I don't want you to feel obligated to participate in affiliate link. But if you notice from this link, you're going to get 80,000 frequent flyer miles. That's happening right now. I can tell you what I use. This is my Chase Sapphire card that comes right out of my pocket. This is 50,000 frequent flyer miles. And what's important about this frequent flyer miles is that the credit cards, remember, the credit cards make money from you. So there's two things going on here. If you sign up for the credit card, they will give you 50,000 frequent flyer miles. If you spend within a 3-month period, somewhere between $1,000 and $5,000. Most of us probably spend just living as adults. I'm going to explain that in a second, Vicki. So what they'll do is they will give you, if you meet their terms within 3 months, you will get the 50,000 frequent flyer miles. What I suggest you do, and this is absolutely a must, because credit cards are there to take advantage of you and make you money. We don't want that to happen to you. So here's what you do. You get the credit card, you pay your bill on time every single month, and then you don't have to use the credit card ever again, but you have 50,000 frequent flyer miles, and those 50,000 frequent flyer miles, I would say 98% of the time, if you transfer those cards and you use it, let's say if you get an American Express, matter of fact, I think I showed you, this one here is in fact an American Express credit card. This American Express credit card gives you 50,000 frequent flyer miles. I just got it in the mail, I don't know, 2 days ago, 3 days ago. And so what that means is if I get that credit card, American Airlines will give me 50,000 frequent flyer miles. But, so I have to spend probably $3,000 over a 3-month period. I pay that off. I'm sorry, Isabel, but I guarantee you there are credit cards available in France doing the exact same thing all over the world. This is not a secret. This is something that the industry does. A matter of fact, there are websites like the Points Guy that is who literally focuses on stuff like that. Same thing with Chris Guillebeau, who is a good guy. Did I do that wrong? Yeah, Chris Guillebeau. I'm putting that back in there so our products all make sense. So what I suggest is, again, this link that I gave you for the Travel for Free Accelerator is going to be terrific. We are going to talk more about traveling for free and using your points effectively. But the most important things I want you to have is that when you get your miles, and by the way, when my wife and I traveled, it cost us, we've had round trip tickets to Italy. It cost us $60 in taxes. More importantly, it's important to understand that even though this is coming from American Airlines, you can use it for any airline that is part of their partner group, which is, I think there's 18 different airlines. So like Cathay Pacific, which is a great airline. Turkish Airways, I believe, is also part of that. So I tend to focus on getting the American, United, and Delta, because between those three, there's probably 65 different airlines that are partnered with them. And then all you do is you transfer your miles. You go onto their site, you use your account, you use your number, and then you have your free airlines. Well, it's a specific, hi Veronica, it is a specific kind of credit card. And again, it's absolutely, I mean, I've been doing it for 10 years. I've been flying for free using specific kinds of credit cards that offer frequent flyer miles. And those miles, I mean, I know people with, 1.5 million cards. I mean, there's an entire industry around utilizing frequent flyer points to getting it. And by the way, it doesn't necessarily have to be a credit card. Credit cards are just the easiest, fastest, and most effective way to get a lot of points all in one lump. So, yep. And by the way, like I said, I don't even necessarily keep the credit cards. Like I use them for my purposes. I pay off the balance in full every month. I never, like if I, for Christmas, I might use a card right now and sort of overindulge for family and things like that. But I don't spend anything that I don't need to. I just use the cards for the regular things that I would normally be using. So it is absolutely a wash. The only downside is if you do not pay your bill, they will use it. So that's my suggestion. No, oh, that was the other thing I was going to say, is the $95 fee on the Chase card that I just showed you is waived for the first year. So I personally happen to really like this particular Chase card, but then I just get rid of it. So I do this 2 or 3 or 4 times a year. I end up with 150,000 frequent flyer miles, and I travel for free a lot. I'm so sorry, Veronica. I certainly hope that you can use the rest of the system because the rest of the stuff that I gave you is gold. Anyway, is there any questions with regards to the Travel for Free Accelerator program? I'm here to answer all of your questions, or if you have general travel questions, I am happy to help. And by the way, thank you so much for attending. I hope this has been a lot of fun and useful and filled with joy in travel, because I want you to totally travel more. Okay, thank you, Judith. Again, I am going to be keeping this shopping cart open for a limited time. I'll probably be closing it in 5 days. If you have any questions, I am here. Matter of fact, if you go to the sales page, you'll see that my email address is at the top of the page. Some of the webinar, can I see again? Yes, I think you can see it, Jeanette. I have it set up to play replays, and it's really more of a technical thing. Like it's all set up to go. You should be able to watch the replay at any point, and I think you're going to love it. Bonnie, thank you so much for being here. Jenna, this may not be the right time, but I am so glad. Yes, by the way, we are going to talk about making money on during our course, and I hope it's going to be useful to you. I really am so glad that you've been here. Again, want you guys to be completely happy, and please do check out the Travel Accelerator program, and I will look forward to seeing you in class really soon. If there are, Vicky, so glad that you are inspired. I am so great. Let's see, hold on, Jenna. I'm sorry, I didn't see your whole question. This may not be the right time, but is it possible to actually make money travel writing? Yes, no, it's totally possible. Again, you have to provide a certain amount of value in order to crack through that threshold. Is it possible? Totally, it absolutely is. In a short thing, we'll probably talk about this during the course, but the short answer is if you find a real specific niche that you can really cater to, there's going to be people in the travel arena who's going to want to pay for your services to access your audience. So that's one way to do it, but there's lots of other ways to do it. Everything from speaking to offering promotions to link exchanges, things like that. Let's see. Great, Michael. Thank you so much for being here. And again, I wish all those who join great success. I'm going to be looking forward to giving away a great piece of Rick Steves luggage direct to you. All you have to do is be here and I will send it to you. Let's see. Thank you all for being here. Jenna, Michael, really great. I hope you got it, and you can find me on Facebook if you have any additional questions. I will be sending out additional information with regards to our replays and sign-up forms, and I'm looking forward to seeing you more. Shauna, thank you for being here. And South Africa, we may be coming there sooner than later. We're looking to actually get married in Lesotho, Swaziland, Mozambique, in South Africa in the coming year, and perhaps our paths will cross. Anyway, thank you all for being here, and I will look forward to seeing you real soon. Bye.